Okay, we're back with the 1906 Winchester project. Today we're going to be taking care of all the wood. Going to be refinishing it. Going to sand it down. I'm going to address this crack here. I'm going to glue it back together, make it whole again. I'm actually going to sandblast this and get rid of all this tape residue and whatnot, and get down these cracks, and then we'll know more about what I need to do as far as refinishing it. Take care of this crack here, get that back together and get it all cleaned up, and get done with that. I'm going to stain it, and then I'm going to varnish it, and it's going to be nice again. I'm also going to sandblast this too, kind of clean it up again, make it kind of look new. But yeah, next time you see this, it'll be nice and cleaned up and ready to work with. So be sandblasted. Okay, so now that it's bead blasted, sanded up quite nice actually. It's got some pros and cons about sandblasting it. As you can see, let's see if I can get you closer on that. There you go. You see all that, the shadows in there, that it took out the soft parts. So I mean, it cleaned it up really nice, but as you can see, it's really rough now. So I have to do quite a bit of sanding to make this right again. So yeah, this is the same way. You can see that shadowing there. That it really cleans it up. I've never used a sandblaster on a gun. It worked out really nice. So anyone that's ever done it knows that this right here is difficult to get. So, but that's what I was using, a really aggressive media, and that's what really ate this away. The part where this tape was, I went over it a couple times to try to get it away, and it really chewed it up. So I gotta really sand it down to make it good. But the first thing I'm gonna do is get this glued and set together and let it cure up before I do any sanding. That way I can it'll kind of sand away into this crack and there won't be a lip. So you want to try to wipe up your excess as best you can. I've got a lot of sanding to do, so if I get a little bit on the outside, it's okay. Basically, I just need to leave this clamped for about 2 hours, and that's about 80%, it says. So, and it'll be, 24-hour full cure. So, okay. So now what I'm going to do, get some 100 grit sandpaper, and we're just going to start sanding it by hand. Okay, you can see here, been sanding on this for a little while. It's starting to turn out real nice. I don't know if you can see that right there. It's starting to turn out real smooth. That crack that's right there. There's that crack, and then there's obviously that crack. I'm going to fill in. I'm going to take some glue, and I'm going to take a piece of paper, and I'm going to coat the paper with the glue. This is how you get glue in cracks a little bit easier. Just spread it just enough to get the paper in there, work it in there, and there's your glue inside. And then I'm going to go and sand it over it like this, and you'll see that crack is going to even disappear just with the sawdust. This is with the 220. Son of a bitch. All right. this is a good way to get a little bit of glue to get down in a crack like this. This is a real good way to do it. Okay, so I've take this out of the clamps, and I've sanded it down all the way to 400 grit, and you can kind of, I don't know if you can kind of see that or not. You can kind of see the outline, you know, right here. You know, for what it was and how broke it was, I'm pretty happy with that. It's nice and solid and it ain't going anywhere now. So now we're going to stain it. I'm going to go really dark with it, because I know in the past when I've sanded stocks like this and I went really fine with it, it was hard to take stain. So when I stained it light, it was really light. When I stained it dark, really dark, it was just kind of dark. So that's what I'm expecting. Needs it to be dark, but not heavy. And you want to make sure is try not to let any like spots like that set. You know, you want to get it all fairly even, just in case one spot takes more than the other. So I'm going to put it on fairly thick, because I want it to take dark. Now, while that's still kind of wet, I want to take some oil and get some really high, really fine, that's just 1000 grit, wet dry paper. I'm going to take, I ripped 3 of them off, that's alright. And I want to get some oil, and I want to work this in. This is going to give it a lot of good depth. Lightly working it in. Oh yeah. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. That really, it's almost like there's already a gloss finish on it. That's what you get when you just work the oil into it. It really makes it smooth. There we go, right there. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what the whole stock looks like now. It's got really good depth. There we go. There it is. Just like that. Looks really good. Got 4 coats, 3 or 4 coats on it now, the polyurethane, and it's looking pretty good. You can see the highlights Get you there. Nice highlights right here. Really nice. But it's kind of rough. It's what happens when you put lacquers or polyurethanes or whatnot on there. It's the grains take the lacquer and they swell up, so you feel the roughness of the grains. So what you want to do is sand them down just with some 1000 grit or some really fine steel wool. You just lightly go over it. You'll feel it right away almost. It's just night and day between where it is sanded and where it's not. That's pretty much my goal here, is to sand this, touch this up, go back over it again with 3 or 4 more coats, maybe a final sanding, a real light one maybe with the steel wool, and then give it a final pretty heavy coat, and it'll relax on itself and it'll be nice and smooth looking. Had a few more coats put on it. It is dry again, but it's still got the, you can lightly feel it. So what I'm going to do is take the very fine steel wool and just lightly brush over it till it's smooth again, and then give it one final coat. And that's where I'm going to leave it. I'm just going to lightly, no pressure, just with the grain. And that's about all it takes right there. And the reason when you buff this is because every individual grain will take that lacquer or stain or whatnot, and it'll swell up. So every time you coat it, or a couple of times you coat it, you want to let it dry, and you want to come in here and just knock those rough spots down. And once you build, you have a rough layer, sand it smooth, build up a little less rough, sand it smooth, little less rough, lay another layer, sand it smooth, and about the time you get a couple layers on and you keep doing that, it ends up a nice flat smooth layer. So that's why I do that. You don't have to, but in the end, in the long run, those little details like that's what makes it show through real nice. Because the more I do this, the more you could see these highlights show through real nice. It's got its last coat, and it's ready to be put on. Turned out really nice. I really like it when I can see those rings that go deep, especially through here. It's almost just like a solid sheet of glass down on the wood. Okay, that concludes the stock. How to refinish it. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing that, how I do it anyway. This turned out really well. I'm really happy with it. Once I get this all together, it's gonna look really nice.